Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Creative Art Time, a weekly live series where we create or just talk about art together. I'm Emmy Kalia, a self-taught artist from the Netherlands, and last week there wasn't a live session, and that was because my computer wasn't working that good. I always feel a bit nervous going live and hoping everything will keep working, like the internet, camera, and the audio. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad it's working again. Hopefully, it will stay this way. So, today I want to start drawing this. I already drew the sketch. And if you would like to download the reference photo, there's a link under the video. And if you have any questions about the drawing or materials, you can ask them in the chat anytime. So let's get started. And let's see, I'm going to start drawing the iris. So you can see the reference photo. I'm going to follow the reference photo. And yeah, I usually like to start with the eye and the iris. So I'm thinking what I'm going to start with. I want to use graphite, pan pastel, and charcoal for this drawing. And let's see, I'm going to start with the charcoal for the iris. This is HB charcoal pencil. And I'm just going to start with the darkest areas. And then with the blending stump, we can blend the rest. So let's just see how that goes. I'm going over the darkest areas first. And you can add charcoal in layers. So check everywhere where you see those darker layers. And yeah, let's start, this part of the iris is a bit thicker, so let's draw that a bit thicker. And then we can blend. I'm just going to use the blending stump and then pull the charcoal towards the rest of the iris. And for the pupil, you see around the pupil it's also darker. So I'm just using the blending stump as a drawing tool. And the eyeball white, it's never completely white, so you can also shade that as well. And the paper I'm using today is Bristol vellum paper. You can use tissue to smoothen this further. And if you smoothen or you smudge this too far, you can just use the kneaded eraser and then just clean it back. Hello, good afternoon. Charcoal H, M, or S. This is charcoal HB. This one is HB. I have the HB hard, I have the 2B medium, and the 4B soft, and I also have the 6B extra soft. So these four generals charcoal pencils, and I mostly use the HB, the 2B, and the 4B and 6B are quite similar, what I think. Owen, I thought you couldn't put charcoal on top of graphite. That's only when, if you have a lot of layers of graphite, or if you have just one layer of graphite where you press really hard, then you won't be able to layer over that graphite layer. So if you're going to use graphite, then I would suggest to use really light pressure. So this is the HB, really light pressure, and then you will be able to layer over it with charcoal. In the beginning, I also thought that I couldn't layer charcoal over graphite, but that's when I discovered that I was pressing too hard on my graphite layers. So that was the problem. I'm going to use 4B graphite to darken the sketch a bit more. Yeah, the lashes come later, but I just want to darken the sketch a bit. And then let's see, so when I start shading the skin, that I don't lose the sketch. So you can just go over the lines that you want to keep. And so this paper is vellum. It's not really textured. It's actually quite smooth, but if you compare it to the smoother paper, you can feel that there is some texture, and you will notice it when you start shading with the graphite. You'll notice it. But I was curious to see how it will work with the pan pastel and the charcoal. So let's add another layer here. So the technique I'm using is a bit different than what I would do with when I would layer with graphite. With graphite you start from light and you go to dark, and then with charcoal you usually start with the darker values first and then go from there. Hi Mike, I'm glad you could make it. Let's see, the 6B. I'm thinking I can use the pan pastel with a smaller brush, and this is neutral gray extra dark, to blend or to add some darker values, or I could use the graphite. Let's just start with the brush first, and then I can always, if you want to be more precise, then you can use the pencils, graphite pencils. The charcoal pencil can also be quite precise. Thank you very much, Erdy Go. Yeah, we just started, so we need to go through some first layers, and then yeah, I always like to finish the eye first a bit until we move, until we continue with the skin, so that I can have something to compare. Let's see. And it doesn't really matter like which order you add the layers, because if you go darker first, yeah, you can use the eraser. This is the stick eraser, and then you can bring back those lighter highlights. Like that. Let's darken the... I'm going to use the 2B because this one is a bit softer, and I want to smudge a bit more of the charcoal. A bit more. Let's use the 4B. So the softer the charcoal pencil, the more you can work with it. You can smudge it. So you see, I wanted more darker value around the pupil. And it's also darker up here, so let's blend that. So I'm working on a few details in the iris. And with the 6B, I'm going to, so I'm using really light pressure because I want to be able to layer over this. So this is where you want to use really light pressure every time when you use graphite. And then you will be able to combine different medium together. So that's a great thing. Adding some details in the iris. And then those brightest highlights, we can use the white marker for that. With the 2B charcoal, I'm going to darken a bit more up here. And with the HB, those darker details here. And then in the reflection, I'm going to add that later. Okay, let's blend this. And then once you blend, you'll notice you will lose some highlights, so then you can bring them back again with the eraser. Okay, so let's move on to the rest. Let's go over the eyebrow with the HB. And before I work on too much detail, I always move on to another area, and then you can always come back to continue any smaller details. So with the eyebrow, you can follow the direction of the hair. And blend. I always blend after each layer, making it look softer and natural. And remember, you always need to go through some ugly stages. So the first layers are not that good. So just need to trust the process and keep on going. With charcoal and pan pastel and graphite, you can layer. If you use light pressure, you will be able to layer. So I would say just keep on going and keep on layering. This hair part is a bit lighter, so I'm going to lighten it. And I'm going over the hair because I want to start shading the skin. Here you see a lighter, not sure if you can see it in the reference photo. the hair is lighter on this darker shadow parts. I'm going to use the 4B graphite pencil and blend this, make it look a bit softer. And with the blending stump. Okay, so now I want to add some shading to the skin. And yeah, this doesn't look finished at all, but we need to add some shading first. I'm going to use the neutral gray tint with a soft brush. And I have a tissue paper here, so you can clean off. Make sure that you clean off the brush first. And start in the darker areas. And then here it's a bit lighter, so let's go in this circular motion. And then carefully over the lighter area, just a bit. Here it can be a bit darker. And let's use the black. I'm going to use a smaller brush to be more precise. This is just a flat, small brush. And I might go over that area with the charcoal, maybe. Not sure if I need to darken some more. Sometimes you get a little dust, then you can blow that away. Yeah, here it can be a bit darker. And with the neutral gray, let's try to create a gradient from here to here. So yeah, you can also use graphite for the skin. I like to experiment and like to work with brushes now to create like a soft gradient for the skin. So the highlight is lighter, but it's not as bright as the white of the paper. So I'm gently going over it a bit just to add some, yeah, I think that's enough. Don't want it too dark. Okay, let's, here it's also lighter, but then around the eye, up the upper eyelid here. So it's almost like painting with a brush, but then with the powder, the dry pan pastel. And then once you have the skin, then you can continue to work on more of the details, more layers. What is the time of class? I think I will be drawing around an hour. I hope I can finish this one in time, but around an hour. So from since we started. Let's see, here it's bright, but not that bright. Let's make sure that your brush is clean and then just gently add a bit more shading there. here. You see that with adding value, you start to make the skin look round. The face, this is the side of the face. Let's add, and with the pan pastel, I also go like from lighter to dark, just to be sure. You don't want to go too dark right away. Okay, now with the lighter value, this is the neutral gray tint. Just so that I don't get it too dark here. Clean off the brush and then gently go over the lighter. Yeah, it's lighter, it's highlight, but it's not too light. And if you go too dark in an area, you can use the kneaded eraser to lighten. I really like to use the kneaded eraser if I need to lighten an area somewhere. Okay, also going over the highlight because it's not that bright. And this reference photo is from Pinterest, and you can see that it's if you click on a photo from on Pinterest, if it's AI generated, you can see that on the picture. So this one is AI generated. I think it looks really yeah, I think the picture looks really powerful, but I still think that it doesn't look that natural. So for example, the lashes, I'm going to try to draw them a bit more natural. And yeah, you're the artist, so you can change things if you like in your drawing. The darker, I'm going to use the black for the edge here with a smaller flat brush. So whenever I'm experimenting or drawing something, I like to do just a small part of a portrait, just like a focused area. In this case, like just on one eye and a part of the face here. This way you can really practice. And focus on, yeah, just the blending, creating detail. And with the pan pastel, you can get really nice, soft effects. With the darker black, it can get a bit messy. Okay, let's blend this. And then you see that from this black, this value is a bit too light, so I need more of a smoother gradient here. Good evening, Jeevan. So I'm going to use this one is neutral tint shade. Let's use the soft powder brush. Trying to get, create a gradient. And for the nose is a bit darker. Nose wing. And with the softer, smaller brush, I'm going to, let's see, this line, there isn't a line, so I'm going to, let's see, erase that before I can't. Because you don't want a line, you want, oh, that's dark. I think I need a lighter shade. So you see how the kneaded eraser is great for this. This was the neutral gray shade. I need the neutral gray. That one was too dark. Clean the brush. I do like how soft and yeah, how soft this looks, creating the skin with the powder, but I do miss the precision of like how precise you can be with the pencils. Even though this is quite a smaller brush. Yeah, that's something I like with the graphite pencils, that you can be more precise. Using the powder brush, make sure it's clean, and then blend this lower area. Let's darken here a bit. But also whenever you're trying something new, it just requires practice. So I always like to say, learn the basics first. You know, the basics of art. You need to understand what you're doing, how to create value in your drawings to make it look realistic. And then once you understand that, you know what you're doing, then you can break the rules like an artist. So first, yeah, you need to know what you're doing. Learn the basics. Yeah, the value is most important. Value is more important than details. So if you don't have the correct values, like the highlights, the shadows, the midtones, then once you continue with the details, or once you add details, if the values aren't good, then your drawing will still look flat, even though your details are really good. It's a bit darker here, so I'm going to use a darker one. This is the shade. So let me know what your favorite medium is to draw with. Is it graphite, charcoal? Have you ever tried pan pastel before? What is your all-time favorite medium to use? My favorite medium, or yeah, the one I started with is graphite. That's the one I'm most familiar with. And then charcoal. Okay, so let's blend this. So this soft powder brush is great for any blending. And here it can also be a bit darker. No one says graphite, favorite medium. Yeah, the only thing is when you're going to draw bigger drawings, it takes a lot of time. Plus, with graphite, you can't get darker values. So when you're going to draw with graphite, you always need some other medium to get the darker values. So I either use a black colored pencil and combine that with the graphite, or with charcoal, because graphite can't get that dark. So if you really want to get those darker values to make your drawings pop. Laura says colored pencils. Yeah, I also like colored pencils. But again, layering with colored pencils can also be really time consuming. I'm also liking pastel pencils lately, and working with color. I also like to use watercolors. No one says, yeah, I have a problem with that also. Yeah, so what do you currently use for the darker values? That's really important if you want to create that depth in your drawings. You will need something darker. Blending this, because this is really harsh. You see this harsh line? Blending stump is perfect for blending. Create softer transitions, smoother transitions. Let's see, looking between the lashes. It's a bit darker here. I need to darken the crease line. Let's use the HB, or actually the 2B, because it's quite dark. Elizabeth says, I still draw with a number 2 pencil, but pastel pencils opened up a whole new world for me. With a number 2 pencil, what do you mean by number 2 pencil? Yeah, I know what you mean about using pastel pencils. Really beautiful, soft effect you can get. It's almost like here with the pan pastels. That you can get a softer effect with it. Let's blend this. Do you see how harsh this line looks? Let's blend this now, make it look softer. You see that it looked like a line, like an outline. But now with the blending, you see that you make it look softer, and now it looks more like an edge, like a crease line, like you want to have. That's why blending is important. A regular old everyday pencil is a number 2, and you would say, okay, well, yeah, that's new to me. That's like just like a regular graphite pencil, just like an HB pencil. Oh, one says don't like charcoal. I find it to be messy. Black pastel pencil. Ah, so the black pastel pencil with graphite. I noticed that this charcoal, the hard one, the softer charcoal pencils can get more messy, but this one isn't messy at all. And I tried the pastel pencil, and yeah, I prefer the charcoal. I actually thought that the pastel pencil was more messy, but maybe the different brands matter. That can also be. This is neutral gray extra dark. I want to get that darker value here to make it look round. Different brands can also give you different effects. So you see how I add that darker value, getting that darker round effect here. And let's add some more here. Elizabeth says, I've learned so much from you. I didn't even know what a blending stump was until I found you. Oh, that's so great to hear. Materials, the drawing materials you use are really important. Sometimes you just have like a simple pencil, paper, and you think, okay, why can't I get the same effect like that other person or that artist over there? And then you didn't, like, for example, in this case, you didn't know that the artist just simply used a blending stump to create a nice smooth blending, which you can't just create with pencils. So I always say the drawing tools, it really matters. The tools, the different tools you use, it really matters. I'm slowly trying to darken. Let's darken the nose. And blend with the powder brush. Clean this. And also when I was a beginner, I was searching online, like, what do I need? How can I blend? How will I achieve a smoother result with the graphite pencils? And yeah, again, materials are really important. Let's use the charcoal HB to darken the nostril. Owen says, thanks, I'll try hard charcoal pencil now you've said that. Yeah, it also comes down to preference, you know. So I don't want to say that this is let's see if I can blend. No, let's use the blending stump. Maybe a pastel pencil will work for you, but it will be something that you will need to try out indeed. I always try out different medium to see what works for me. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And now that I'm creating this piece, you know, do you also have that same feeling whenever I see an artist create something in a certain medium, then I'm like, oh, I want to try that too. But then when I'm trying it or working with that certain medium, then I miss the medium that I'm most familiar with. So in this case, I'm thinking, oh, how would this one turn out if I would just use graphite pencils? That's something I think about when I'm creating this. But that's something that I would just need to experiment with and try out. Because again, I do like the soft effect of pastels, but I miss the how precise I can be with the pencils. But maybe that's just because I'm more familiar with it, you know? It's always scary or challenging to start working with a new medium, and then you think, oh, okay, I'm not good at it. I'll just stick with what I'm used to. But yeah, if you don't try, if you don't practice, you wouldn't know. And you can't know after one try, after one or two drawings. You need to continue a bit more. Yeah, if you want to. You don't. It's just something if you want to be better at a certain medium. Let's see, the eye looks yeah, not finished yet. Let's lighten this area a bit and blend. Let's clean. Okay, so it's quite lighter here. With the blending it got darker. Owen says, I find that I'm colorblind concerning colored pencil. Interesting. So when you're colorblind, you see colors different than others. So if I'm correct, or correct me if I'm wrong, you can see color, but you see the colors differently. I always thought that was something really interesting. If someone sees color differently than others. It's a bit darker here. Oh, and if you're ever wondering how you can sharpen your charcoal pencil, an electric sharpener is best. Really try getting an electric sharpener, and they're not expensive. You look for one on Amazon. The brand is called Afmat or Afmat. Elizabeth says, I drew a monarch butterfly in half portions, one side in pastel pencils, one side in colored pencils, and the difference was unbelievable. That's also really good to do. One side with one medium and the other side with a different medium to compare the two. And which one, I'm curious, which one did you think, or which side did you prefer? The one with the pastel pencils or the regular colored pencils? Darken the pupil. Let's make that pop more. Owen says, yeah, I see color differently. Yeah, really interesting. It would still be interesting if you create something with colored pencils, but then how you see it, really, yeah, that would also be interesting. Yeah, or maybe that's something that you might not like because you see color different. So that, yeah, it shouldn't be a bad thing, because you know what, with color, what makes the picture is the value and not the exact same color. So I always say, don't worry about creating the drawing in the exact same color. You just need the correct value. That's more important. Elizabeth says pastels all the way. Which paper do you use with your pastel pencils? Because you drew one side with pastel and then the other with colored pencils. Which paper did you use to make the colored pencil look good and the pastel? I'm curious, because I'm still trying out different paper with pastel pencils. Let's lighten this. It got a bit messy here. So I just mold this into a point and lighten. Okay, the iris is looking better now. Let's just fix the details around and then we can start the eyelashes. Strathmore toned paper. Ah, yeah, that's also one that I like. The only thing I don't like of that is that you can see the fibers of the paper. Like you see kind of like these lines. Not sure why, but at first I didn't notice that, but once I noticed it, I just couldn't, like, you know, unsee it. And then that's something that distract me a bit. I don't really like that. Cleaning the brush, see if I can blend this without making it dirty again. This part needs to be darker. Let's see, the HB, let's try. Might be too dark. Adding a really light layer. See how that will look once I blend it. Agreed, the fibers are annoying and distracting, yeah. So I also tried the Clairefontaine, not pastel matte, but paint on paper. And that's I think that one was similar to the Strathmore toned paper. Maybe you know that paper as well. And that one doesn't have those fibers showing. Let's add some darker value to the eyebrow. The eyebrow needs some work. You can see that this part of the eyebrow is out of focus. This part has a lot of detail. You see that hair? It doesn't look right. Or yeah, it's too much detail in the picture. And again, because it's AI, so I'm just using this picture as a reference, but I'm not going to create all of those details. Yeah, you're welcome, Elizabeth. And you also have gray. You have like a tan, a light brown color. You have a gray color. And yeah, because it's quite smooth, I also liked using that. Yeah, I don't know, I just prefer smoother paper. Maybe because I'm used to it. I'm going to use the softer one. This is the 6B Extra Soft to really darken this part here. And here. See how dark the charcoal gets? You can see the difference here. But let's blend that now with the blending stump. Hello, Sebastian. Your tutorial is awesome. Will you do the same for drawing long blonde hairs? Greeting from France. Long blonde hairs. I'm thinking if I already have a tutorial on that one. Well, I have, if you don't know yet, I have a drawing course. It's available inside the membership, and I have different portrait drawings, and also I cover drawing blonde hair with graphite, and I use a black colored pencil for the darker values, or I use charcoal. Let's see, you see how dark this got? And now let's blend this as well. So we need to also darken the rest. It's also, once you darken an area, and then you notice that the rest isn't dark enough. But yeah, when you're drawing hair, it's all actually the same technique. It's just that the blonde hair would be lighter in value than the darker hair, and depending on like the flow of the hair, which direction is the hair going, will all be the same technique. So once you know the technique how to draw hair, then you will be able to draw any type of hair. Let's see the darker value. This is the extra dark because we need a smoother gradient here. And let's blend this. And now we also need to darken this area here. So always when I draw an eye, I'm always tempted, or you also might be tempted to draw the eyelashes at once, but I always wait before I have the skin shading around it complete. So you'll need to look through the lashes. This is neutral gray shade. Let's blend. Clean off the brush when you have any lighter areas, so that you don't darken other areas where it's lighter. Okay, the eyebrow is not looking good. Let's add another layer. So you see how I add or create hair in layers, soften, and if it's getting too, if I'm shading too much here, this highlight, I can just bring it back. Clean the brush, and then gently, I think I need to erase a bit more. Blend so you don't have any harsh eraser lines. Let's blend this part. And let's use the HB charcoal again. So once you have the shading complete of the skin, then you can add those thinner, you know, those hairs. Hello Bernadette, welcome. So I do notice that this charcoal, the hard one, it's more, I get more of a chalky feeling because the pencil is harder. But the tip, you see, I can get the tip is harder, or the lead, the charcoal lead inside, it's harder, so I can get better detail with this one. So that's great. Okay, just adding some hairs back in. Hello, Dust and Shadow. Okay, I'm also going to add some shading a bit here where I need it a bit darker. And let's blend. I want those hairs to be a bit softer here, but if I use the blending stump, then it will blend it too much. So I'm using the brush to soften this here. And if you see any highlights in the eyebrow, you can use the stick eraser. Or where you can see the skin between. Okay, I'm going to work on the eyelashes, and then we can see actually one layer with the HB charcoal, darken the nostril just a bit. It's kind of out of focus, the nose, so it's really soft. Oh yeah, and the freckles. Let's see if we can add the freckles. But Dustin Shadow says, I'm also in a sketch art journey. That's great. What is your favorite medium to use? Is it graphite, or have you also tried charcoal? I'm going to use the HB charcoal for the lashes, and I also create them in layers. So yeah, let's start here. And I'm going to try to make the lashes look a bit more natural. So first I create the first layer, and then I blend, and then I go over it again. Make sure that you keep the tips lighter. Graphite pencil, great. Yeah, with graphite you can be really precise. create nice detail. The only thing with graphite is that you can't create darker values with it. So what do you use? I did not try charcoal yet. Is there anything else you use to create darker values, or do you just use graphite? Only graphite. When I started with only graphite pencils, I created my drawings, and then I always thought something is missing. Like, how do I make it pop? How do I make my drawing pop more? And that's when I discovered that I need darker values, which you can't create with the graphite pencils alone. Okay, I can add more later. Let's blend, but first I want to clean this blending stump. Elizabeth says, which brand of charcoal pencils do you use? My birthday is next week, so my grandkids will need a hint. Yeah, I like the General's charcoal pencil. They sharpen really well, and you can buy these in a set. Yeah, so those would be great to try. There's also Faber-Castell Pit charcoal. To be honest, I haven't tried those. There are different brands, of course, but I think General's, yeah, they work. They do what I want. You see how blending makes it look softer, but you need to be careful that you don't blend it all. Let's clean again. You're welcome, Elizabeth. And Dustin Shadow says, because charcoal I find a little messy. Yeah, I understand. If you're used to graphite, how precise it is, then the charcoal mess just isn't fun. But I've noticed that charcoal pencils aren't that messy. The mess that I have here, that's because of I use the pan pastel. So just using the charcoal pencils is really great to like add that darker value. I have a drawing here. I created this one with graphite pencils, and then I used charcoal pencil for the hair, the charcoal pencils, and I didn't get any mess because the charcoal pencils can also be really precise, but they blend really easy and you get that really dark value that makes your drawing pop. So I used charcoal for the eye, for the darker hair, and also the darker areas, and then graphite for the rest. So that's one thing I like about using charcoal. I don't know if you know, but Faber-Castell matte has a 14B that's very black. Yeah, I've tried the graphite matte pencils. They are great to use for darker details. Yeah, so I have always used the graphite, the regular graphite pencils, and then before they didn't have the matte pencils before, so I was just using the black colored pencil for the darkest values, and that worked great for years until they created the matte pencils. But yeah, it's just not something I was used to. But I would use the Faber-Castell matte pencils instead of the black colored pencils, because yeah, the 14B can get really dark. It's comparable to the black colored pencil. So yeah, that's great. I wish they had made those pencils a bit sooner. But still, it can't get that really deep, dark black that you need, that you can create with charcoal. So if you compare it. Yeah, for a large dark area, this is best, yeah. For smaller drawings, I prefer the graphite. So here I have a smaller drawing, and I created this one with graphite, and then I used the black colored pencil for the hair. So for these darker areas, I could have also used the Faber-Castell matte graphite pencils. But look, if you compare now the black, the dark, that, you know, that rich dark black, it's just not something you can create with those other pencils, and which you can with charcoal. So yeah, that's one thing that I enjoyed, or really like in the end result, that dark black. You see that once you compare it. That's one thing I miss. So if I would create this drawing again, I would use charcoal for the hair and then create that really beautiful depth in the drawing. But yeah, it's a preference. It's just something you can choose as an artist. Some artists prefer that, some don't. I missed that that line here. Need to bring that back. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the lashes because they're not finished yet. And this, after all of the blending, you could lose a bit of that darker value. So go over it again if you need the crease line. And blend. Now let's go over the lower part of the lashes. Also now, nowadays, there are so much different brands, so many different brands, so many different mediums to choose from. In the beginning it was just regular graphite pencils, just draw. And now there are so many choices. And yeah, if you're an artist, you go to an art store. If you're like me, you want the whole art store. You want to try everything. That can be tempting. And you always want to try the newer medium. Or at least that's what I feel. But then I always go back to what I first started with. Maybe another tip, Conte Paris has a black charcoal that's even blacker than the Generals. I think I know which one. I also have that one. The only problem I had, because the charcoal is darker, but the charcoal is softer. So the lead that's inside, I had trouble sharpening it. So that's why I prefer this one. And yeah, it might not be that dark, but I can sharpen it. And some use like a blade to sharpen their pencils. Yeah, I use an electric sharpener and that works for me. But different brands of charcoal, like the Conte Paris, It's a great pencil, but until I needed to sharpen it. So that was my problem with that one. Okay, yeah, let's see. Maybe the Freckles. I could keep on working more, adding more detail, but let's see, maybe here the eyebrow. And then let's darken this hair. So these charcoal pencils aren't messy at all, and they blend really easily. Maybe here I can use the graphite where it's, let's blend, where it's a bit lighter. You see that? The hair is a bit lighter. You see, I always blend. See how it makes make it look softer. I do it with a knife, yeah, with a craft knife, I know. But I think that can create a mess. I don't really like doing that. Let's use the brush. Blend a bit. I think I'm going to use the 6B pencil graphite. Create these lighter hairs. Well, here I need a darker one. So again, with the HB, add some more hairs. Sometimes accurate tools done well. And Celeste says something in Spanish. Is that Spanish? Yeah, when I get an email in a different language, I can use Google Translate, but I can't use Google Translate now. But I can read brava complimenti, so thank you. I think I know what that means. I actually went to Spain this year. I know a few Spanish words, but yeah, it's a lot. Learning a new language. I wish we could all just speak one language and all understand each other. That would be great. Okay, let's blend. So yeah, like I said, when I'm creating this, I miss my graphite pencils. When I'm creating something with graphite, I'm thinking, oh, I miss the softness of the pastels. It's a struggle. An artist's mind is a struggle always. You might know what I'm talking about. You know, when you're creating something, there's always some kind of, yeah, not really struggle, but you know, thoughts, always thoughts, doubts, thoughts, challenges, especially when trying out new material. Like I said, yeah, you think, okay, why can't I, or why isn't this working, or why am I finding this challenging? Yeah, because it's a new medium, you need to work with it. I'm going to use the 6B for these lashes. No, that's not dark enough, so the HB. So I'm missing, between the graphite pencils and the charcoal, I'm missing something. So I think I would, you know, the Faber-Castell matte pencils that are darker than the graphite pencils. I just don't like them with the shading. So I would use, if I could choose again, I would use the Faber-Castell graphite pencils for the regular smooth shading, and then the Faber-Castell matte for the darker details, and then maybe a charcoal pencil to add for the black details. Maybe that would be a great combination. Because when I blended or layered with the Faber-Castell matte, I didn't really like how, yeah, they're not as smooth as the regular graphite 9000 pencils. Blending the lashes, trying to make them look a bit more natural. Yeah, so that's one thing what I'm experiencing. It's getting dirty. Creating this. And then I miss my graphite pencils. For the freckles, I'm going to use the 4B because they're not too dark and they're also a bit out of focus. Yeah, like that. And then use the blending stump, clean to be sure. That's how I would create freckles. And then if there's a highlight here, so I want to bring that back. Clean the brush because we're going to go over the highlight. So you want the freckles you want to blend the freckles in. It's actually great to create the freckles before the last shading step so that you can blend over them. That's great. Yes, I combine them too. Yeah, that works great. Faber-Castell regular for the smooth shading, and then the matte for the dark. I wish they created them sooner. But yeah, I can still work with them. Maybe I would just give them a go again. Okay, let's blend these. So blending stump is your friend. After each layer you want to blend. Yeah, let's see. So you see, yeah, there are a lot of freckles. I'm not going to create all of them. But this is how I would create them. Make sure you blend so that they don't look like spots, but like that they belong. I need that highlight here. And let's blend that. So whenever you use the eraser, you want to blend those so that you don't get any harsh lines. Okay, yeah, I might see something later, but I think I'm going to leave it like this. I still like the effect, the soft effect with the pan pastel. Can we use cotton for blending purposes? Yeah, like a smoother, or I have a cotton bud here. It doesn't feel the same as with the blending stump. Or yeah, it does the work. So you can definitely, if you don't have a blending stump, you can use a cotton bud, or those, how do you call those ones, those flatter ones, maybe for larger areas. That would work great too, instead of a sponge. Yeah, I'm going to call this one finished for now. Let's remove the tape, see how this turned out. And now you can see that the table got a bit messy, but you can just clean with the kneaded eraser. Oh yeah, just wipe it off, of course. But I think that with the pan pastel, it's not that messy as with charcoal. Charcoal powder. Simon says, thank you, help me know how to blend and layer my pictures better. Dust says, I like the eyeshadow and reflection. Yeah, it's like I said, the values are the most important. The blending, the values, that's the most important. So I hope you learned something from this video. And thank you so much for joining, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this live session, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you found this helpful. And if you're interested in learning more with me, you can check out my art courses or membership. You'll learn in a structured way with step-by-step video lessons that will help you go from beginner all the way to advanced. And if you find yourself making the same mistakes and not sure how to improve, let me guide you and help you move forward. So if you'd like to read more details, there's a link under the video. Or if you have any questions, just leave a comment. And yeah, thank you so much for joining again, everyone. That's it for today. I hope to see you next week. Have a nice day or evening, and bye-bye.